Day one. What are we doing? What are we doing? So this is the 396, which is bored 30 over, making it a 402 block. Right now it's in short block form, but that's about to change. Right now this is a short block that is built with a stock crank, rods, pistons. It's built in that 396 version that is, I want to say it's a 375 horsepower version. I'm not sure about that. But anyways, all of the rotating assembly is coming out of this. And we're going to put in a new forged rotating assembly. So we'll start that today. First, this thing's got to come apart. And we're not going to do too much today, but it gives me a chance to explain the direction we're going to go with this unit here. So what we're going to do is we're going to twin turbo this bad boy. The starting point for that will be putting forged internals in it. So we'll get this stuff out today. And the other thing that I want to do is put the new crank in, because I want to make sure that that fits and that everything is good with that, because I have to send the new rotating assembly out to be balanced. And before I have them, to balance that crank, they're going to have to drill holes in it and add weight and this and that. And I don't want to do all that and then get it back and find out that it doesn't, something's wrong with it. Because then at that point, once it's been, drilled in and modified, it's mine. And they won't, that's a used crank basically at that point. So while it's in its new factory form, I want to put it in, and I will plastic gauge it, make sure it's in the ballpark, and then I will send everything out. And the way that I'm going to do this is not ideal. It's not the way you should do it. The way you should do this is completely put your short block together with the heads and the valve train and everything on, and then check everything. You want to check all your clearances. You want to check your valve to piston clearances. You want to check and make sure that your pistons aren't going to hit your combustion chamber. You want to make sure everything is dialed in, and that you don't have to, you don't have to shave your pistons down somewhere. You don't have to fly cut them to fit the valve. And then send everything out to be balanced when you know it's good. I'm sort of jumping the gun here, because I don't have the heads yet. So I'm going to make sure the crank is good. The rods, we can deal with that later if something's wrong. It's not the hugest deal in the world. And then just hope that the new forged pistons that I have, which are over here, hopefully they fit without any issues. And I think that they will, because the heads that I'm getting, which are Brodix race rights, they have kind of like a semi-open chamber, and the shape of that chamber is more like the old style closed chambers, if you're familiar with those. So I think that style of chamber, on any newer heart-shaped style of chamber, like an airflow research or something like that, the chamber comes down and it comes to a point like in this area here. And the last 3 engines that I've built had airflow research heads, and they have what is called a heart-shaped chamber. And where it comes down to a point, if you're running any kind of a dome piston, I can almost guarantee you it's going to hit. But the chamber on the heads, the Brodix heads I got, are more like an old style closed chamber where it's pretty uniform, the edges around. And that is to accept a dome like that. Modern heads, you got to check them because they have all kind of funky shape combustion chambers and they don't work with a lot of pistons. So let's get into, everybody asks me, why are you building a 396? You should just build a 454. It's the same money, blah, blah, blah. The 396 is kind of the red-headed stepchild of the big block world. I understand that. And honestly, that's what makes me kind of like it more. Everybody is telling me I shouldn't do it. And I'm like, yeah, okay. Then I'm for sure going to do it. If it was going to be a naturally aspirated engine, I probably wouldn't do it. Because then that's, then you're at a huge disadvantage. But since it's going to be boosted, it makes less of a difference to me. Like if I want more power, I'll just boost it more. And this happens to be an older 396. It's the first year that they were produced. It's a 1965, which is not ideal. I mean, with a 396, you're already at a disadvantage because you have the smaller bore. And as you can see, the valves, they don't fit. They don't fit like they do on a 454. You got a notch in the block there to accept the valve. So with these, when I got the Brodix heads, Brodix doesn't make an off-the-shelf head with a 2.25 or a 2.190 valve. You have to have them made that way. And with this block, this smaller bore, the biggest you want to go is a 219. It doesn't even help you to go to a bigger one because then you have shrouding issues with the cylinder wall there. And I'm not even sure you'd make it. You're probably going to hit. And to tell you the truth, I'm not even sure with these newer pistons if I don't even know if that valve's going to clear. I might have to fly cut these. I can't be certain until we get there. But, we'll cross that road when we get to it. Another disadvantage of the 396, well, it's not really a disadvantage, it's just a difference, is that the camshaft, the most rearward journal, the block doesn't have an oil groove cut into it. It's actually cut into the cam. And the bearing that you use has a groove in it, which they changed in '67. They started to machine the groove. So when we pull the cam out today, I can show you guys that. Yeah, it's just, most people understand that it's not a good starting point. I kind of like the fact that it's an underdog, and I like the fact that it's from the mid-60s, because the car that it's going in, I'm trying to keep an old soul. And having an old ass block like that, giving it an old heart, I don't know, I just like it. So we'll get started on pulling this thing apart, and my son's going to help me do it. He wants to learn about engines, so I'll be guiding him through it. And if I think of anything interesting to say about it, I'll chime in. So let's go ahead and get started on it. So on a 396, that's the rear journal of the camshaft right there. You see how it has that groove machined into it? Other big blocks don't have that. This is only an early model big block thing. Now that all the rods and pistons are out, we'll take this crankshaft out. Alright, new crankshaft is in, and now we are going to plastic gauge these clearances just to make sure there is no issue with this crankshaft before I send it off to be balanced. Make sure it's in the ballpark, then we'll take it out and we'll send everything to the machine shop. The new crankshaft is in. We plastic gauged it. Everything is looking good so far. The crank is the right size. It's definitely where we want it. So now I feel comfortable sending it off to the machine shop, and they can do what they do. Then we'll get all the stuff back from the machine shop and we'll put it all back together. So when that happens, you'll know. We'll see you next time.